Welcome to the Creative Entrepreneurs Podcast, where it's all about turning your unique talents and perspectives into a viable business. And now, your host, Paris Hamilton.
Hey, and welcome to the Creative Entrepreneurs Podcast. This is Paris Hamilton. I have Mr. Ronnie Sidney II here with me, and I'll go ahead and jump right in and let him tell you a little bit about himself and what it is that he does.
Hey, good morning, everyone. My name is Ronnie Sidney II, and by trade, I'm an outpatient therapist at a community services board. But on the side, I've decided to start my own LLC, Creative Medicine, Healing Through Words. And through my LLC, I published my first book, Nelson Beastie Odds, and working on my second book, which is called Tamika's New Dress, which is a part of the Nelson Beastie Odds series. And currently, I'm promoting my book. Also, I have an app out called the Nelson Beastie Odds Comic Creator, which is sort of a companion app to the book, where users can upload photos and customize and add characters from the book, add emojis, add some neat different word art to just sort of enhance and show some of their strengths.
I didn't know about the app that you had, actually. I knew about the second book that was coming out.
Yeah. Actually, I found a app developer on the website where I found my illustrator, which is called Elance. The website is since closed, and all of the work and all the illustrators and app developers moved to a website called Upwork.com. But it's a great app. I mean, not a great app, but it is a great app. But the website is a great place to meet illustrators, developers, people who do animation, pretty much any creative niche that people have. It's a great app for people like me who didn't really have an avenue to find people in those different industries.
Right.
But you can go on the website and pretty much put up a proposal, put out there what you want done, and people will actually reach out to you and let you know whether or not they can do the work for whatever price you choose.
Now tell me, I know a lot of people are struggling with trying to maintain financial stability while kind of working a full-time job, and if they did want to start a side business, they're kind of like set off by how much it might cost. But how much did you end up having to pay for these illustrators and editors and web designers? It just sounds like it could be something that gets expensive.
Yeah, it can become expensive. My illustrator, I probably spent about $3,800 for my first book, but it was pretty much inclusive cost. Like, they did the cover for my book, they did the layout, they did the design, they formatted the book for me, so they did pretty much everything. The only thing that I did was I sent them the script of my book, and I sent them, how I wanted the characters to look. I sent them some former pictures of myself when I was a kid. And some of the characters included in the book are actually based on real people, so I sent them those pictures. And I had some editors that I used, which the editor part was cheap. The illustrators was my biggest cost. In terms of the app was about $2,300, and that was just for the iOS app. So right now my app is only available for Apple products like iPhones, iPads, iPods. I was going to get it developed for Android, but the developer, something happened to him. I think he got in a car accident, and he was unable to complete the project. But I do plan on releasing it also on Android.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know that the illustrator and stuff seemed like it cost a lot to me. I've never worked with an illustrator, but I have worked with Upwork.
Oh, okay. How was your experience?
Oh, I loved it. I've used it at least 2 or 3 times now, but it's always for graphic design type of projects, which are a little bit cheaper. So I wasn't really used to that.
But I think one thing too is you can find much cheaper illustrators. They had a lot of cheaper ones, but for me, I'm always a quality over quantity type person.
Right.
And I feel like anytime I do something, I want to make sure it's done right and it's done well. And there were cheaper illustrators out there, but I decided to go with the company I chose because, for one of the illustrators, the husband and wife team, was diagnosed with dyslexia, and they said that the story resonated with them when I sent them sort of like the summary of what I wanted. And I felt like that's a good match because I knew that they could tell my story in a way that would be authentic and true to how I wanted it presented. But like Upwork, they have the different ratings and how much money the person has made, and they made a lot of money doing projects and they had some really great ratings. So I felt like, I wanted to, because I feel like your art, and I'm sure you feel the same way, like your art or whatever work you put out, it sort of reflects you and your character and, some of the things you stand for. So yeah. I felt like if I was going to put a book out, especially a book that has, it's about myself and includes people that I grew up with and my parents, I wanted to make sure it's done, the best way possible.
Yeah. And I read your book, actually. I have it pulled up on my computer right now. It was a good book with a positive message. And I'm not really surprised that it's a best-selling children's book right now. So I can't wait to hear the second book to come out. Was it Tamika's New Dress?
Yes. And you know what? And from what so far, I've let a few people read it, and everything I've heard has been really positive. And I really feel like, in terms of the impact, like with Beyonce, the Lemonade, and you have the Black Lives Matter and the Black Girls Rock, I really feel like this book is going to be the next big children's book because it's a real focus on culture, a real focus on empowering young ladies, a real focus on beauty, inner beauty, and also external beauty, and a real focus on this bullying that's going on. And I'm actually dedicating this book to the young lady in Delaware who lost her life last week to a fight, and I really focus on bullying a lot in this book and colorism, the light skin, dark skin thing.
Yeah. So tell me this. So tell me why you actually chose to write a children's book.
I chose to write the children's book because the book is based on my experience in elementary, middle, and high school. I was diagnosed with a specific learning disability and ADHD while I was in school. So it was a very difficult time for me. I was really ashamed of the diagnosis, and I didn't like going to special education class because of the stigma. And it took me a while to 18, 19 years old for me to even tell my friends that I had the disability. And I felt like I've achieved some level of success, and I was actually told by my special education teacher to share my story, former special education teacher to share my story. And I said, if I write a book, I want to write a book that kids like me will read, because I wasn't a big book reader. If I seen a book that was even a quarter manuscript, and I'm putting it down. So I wanted to make a book that was short, like a comic book with colorful illustrations, not a lot of text. In case a kid is a struggling reader, they can sort of follow along with the pictures. But I really want to inspire young kids to beat the odds, because our kids face, really some kids face some tremendous odds. I'm a social worker, so I get to work with kids from all different backgrounds, and some of the resilience that I see from kids is just amazing and inspires me every day.
Now, when your former special education teacher told you that you should write about your story, did you have any hesitations with writing? Like, did you just jump straight in, or did you kind of take pause and have to get over like some self-doubt or anything before you decided to embark on that journey?
I did. The main thing was the illustrator piece, because I know some writers. I don't know anyone who's done a children's book, and so I had some anxiety about finding an illustrator, and I reached out on Facebook. Some people suggested some people, but they hadn't necessarily done a children's book. They're just people who could draw. So that was a concern, is finding that illustrator. And the first illustrator, I actually chose a different illustrator initially. But when I found Imagine That Design, I was like, man, that work is so much better. But the first illustrator actually gave me a lot of tips on how to sort of frame my story into a children's book and gave me some guidance in terms of, she said, you need to get a blog, start a blog, use print on demand services like CreateSpace or Ingram Spark. And I really went on YouTube and really Googled self-publishing to the T. Like I really OD'd on it and made sure I was informed and making the right decisions because I hate having to redo stuff and do stuff over. So I really wanted to make sure I had really informed myself on, as much self-publishing knowledge, as I could, because I didn't want to have to go through the publisher. Because some people I read, it took them 3 or 4 years to get a book published. Heard people getting rejected over 100 times from publishers, and I didn't want to have to put in all that work because I feel like the urgency of the literacy rates, for our Black boys is like this book needs to come out as soon as possible. Because our Black boys are struggling and reading all over the country, particularly in large urban areas. And I really wanted to get a book out that reflected their experience and they could read and, inspire them. But it's not just for Black boys, but for everyone. But I really wanted to specifically target that population.
Yeah, that's a positive message. As far as the self-publishing route, I mean, I understand exactly why you went that route. I've even gone that route with the chemistry book that I put out because for certain books, traditional route might not be the best route. So self-publishing is the best route for some books. Now, you said it takes about 2 or 3 years, and it does because not only do you have to find a literary agent, once your literary agent has your book, they have to submit it to different publishing companies. Then once the publishing company accepts it, then you have to go back and forth on like terms. Well, not you, but your literary agent goes back and forth with the publishing company's lawyer on terms, and that might take a couple of years. And you have their editor wants to look at your book and make some changes. So it's like a long process, and it does, even after being accepted by the publisher, might take a couple of years to be published. So I totally understand your route. But for the people out there who might want to start up their own business or embark on their own entrepreneurial journey, I know they worry about, do they have the time to do it? So I guess my question to you is, what were you doing at the time of your writing process? And like, how did you find the time to write this book?
Well, actually, writing the book was the easy part because I had already created a presentation for education symposium that I had spoke at called Beating the Odds, How I Survived Special Education. And in creating that, I did a lot of research on special education, a lot of research on myself. I went through old individualized education plans, or IEPs, which are plans that children with special education get to help guide them through their educational experience. And, I had done actually a paper while I was at ODU on special education, and I used some information about myself in terms of writing the paper. So I had some information already on hand, and what I did is just, in reflecting on my experience, I took some of the major experiences in my life, and I created and put them in the story. I think the part that took the longest was the editing process. And I just got a message the other day that there was a grammatical error on the back of the book. So I have to talk to the illustrator to get that right. But there's always something that you overlook or miss in the editing process. But I felt like that part took the longest. But overall, writing the story was maybe 2 weeks, but I constantly kept going back and tuning it and bouncing it off other people. And I think it's really important that you bounce your ideas off other people because I'm not selling the book to myself. I'm selling it to the whole world. So I really like to get people's input. And I think sometimes people are afraid of the criticism because, when you put that project out, you invest a lot of time and energy in it and you don't like to hear the feedback. But, the feedback for me helps me create a better product. So I'm always open and available for feedback.
Yeah, I think everybody should invest that time in research with their intended audience just to get that feedback and get that criticism to make their product better, because really, at the end of the day, it's about serving the audience that you're writing it for.
Yes.
So, so what did you have a full-time job while you were actually writing the book? You said it took you 2 weeks to write.
Yes, I do. I'm an outpatient therapist full time, and that's it's tough sort of juggling that. At the time, my girlfriend was also going through nursing school, so we have 2 kids, so it was really stressful. I mean, the pennies really get pinched. There was times, checks and bounce, overdraft fees, out the yin yang. Had to, get some credit cards, get some loans. It's financially the stress is daily, especially if you're starting out and you have all those upfront costs. It's gonna be a financial investment there. But I think the main part is I read a book called The Alchemist, and there's been weeks where I was like, man, I don't even have enough money to make it through the next week, and I would just get this desire like, hey, you need to go to this event, or you need to attend this church service, or you need to call this person, and by doing that and following that, it has always led to an opportunity or some financial opportunities to help me get through that next day. So there is a lot of risk, but also when you stay true to your purpose and you really are doing something that you're passionate about and doing something that's fulfilling for the broader society, and people see that, they'll support you. So I would say people don't get discouraged by the financial part, because it's always going to be something there. But really focus on how your product is going to change the world. And when you get those positive feedback, you get that positive feedback from a family or from a child or from a parent, that really just strengthens your resilience and strengthens that purpose. And that's what really drives me. Because if I was worried about the dollar signs, I'd be stressed out every moment of my life. But I try to just I think about it. Of course, my kids got to eat, have well taken care of, and I have a great family support system who's there. But when you have that purpose, you have that drive, and that sort of that itch to do something great. Don't hold back because of the money.
I think that's great advice. I think that's really going to help somebody out there that's listening to this particular episode. I did want to touch base on one thing. So once you had it written, once you had it self-published, how did you market it? Like, what kind of things do you do to help market this self-published book? Because you have a lot of good reviews and 5-star reviews on Amazon. So how did you just get the word out?
Facebook. Facebook has been my best friend. Facebook has really been a great tool because I think with the Facebook demographic, it's mostly 25, 26 and up. So that's the target audience in terms of parents that'll purchase a book, and in terms of professionals, in terms of people who can actually help give me books for different speaking engagements. And Facebook has been a wonderful tool, particularly this group called Black Educators Rock on Facebook. But getting the word out on there. I have a I Be God hashtag that I use. I have a group there. I've also started pages for my book and for my company. And, people have been reaching out. Like right now, I just published a blog last night. And, I'm getting I'm looking at my messages now from people, reaching out, inviting me to conferences, asking me where can they purchase a book. And I've really found the blog to be really helpful, because when you share it on Facebook, it looks like a legitimate, link like from CBS or CNN. So people see that it sort of legitimizes your brand. And I found that, I probably had about 10 media interviews, but I found that the blog has really been my biggest asset, because I'm able to create my own content, and I'm also able to share other people's stories. And, I've learned that sharing other people's stories has really been a great, helping me build my brand. Because I'm giving people a platform for them to share their stories about how they beat the odds. And in turn, they're sharing it, and they're, inviting more people to the group and, to check out my book. So I would definitely encourage everyone to start a blog and create your own content because, nobody else, people will, but, there's millions of stories going on every day, and these writers and the work of these different news agencies, they inundated with different things. So create your own content and share it on social media. People will read it and share it also.
Okay. I'm actually looking at the blog post right now, and there's a picture of you doing a book signing. So I guess,
yeah.
Were you ever introverted, or were you always kind of like willing to do book signings and go sit and speak in public, or was that something you had to get used to?
Well, I never really had a fear of speaking in public. My father, he's been a minister my whole life, so I've always, being a preacher's son, constantly in the public eye, and public speaking is something that came really natural to me. And in fact, speaking itself got me in a lot of trouble in school. But the public speaking comes really easy. I'm an extroverted person. I really love sharing my story, but I love, more importantly, listening to other people's stories because it's that, like I said, it fuels me, but also gives me ideas on how I need to frame my next, story. Gives me some ideas of how I need to market my current story. So I really love, listening to people talk about, overcoming their learning disability or helping a child overcome their, or educators talking about some of the challenges of, working in the system. Because special education, there's a lot of paperwork involved because there's federal and state and sometimes local regulations. So there's a lot of paperwork. There's a lot of bureaucracy. And some special education teachers get burned out with that piece because a lot of them become special education teachers to help the students.
Right.
But sometimes the system hinders, them. And that's not just special education. That can be general ed teachers too.
So one last thing before I kind of let you go, because I know you're busy, but where can people find more about you on social media or online in general?
You can go to my website, www.nelsonbci.com. You could also find me on social media, Ronnie Sidney, that's RONNIESIDNEY, and then 2 I's, and I'm on Instagram and Twitter. You can also search my book on Facebook. Search me on Amazon. I have books available. I have the hardcover, paperback, ebook, all available on Amazon, BarnesandNobles.com, Books A Million. So you can find some books there.
All right, Ronnie, I really want to thank you for taking the time out to speak with me today. I know you're busy. So, yeah, just thank you for sharing as much wisdom as you have shared up here today.
Appreciate it. Thank you. And I wish everyone that's listening the best of luck and continue to follow your dreams. And, don't get discouraged by the money piece.
I appreciate that. So I want to go ahead and sign out, but before I do, I want to say thank you again to Mr. Ronnie Sidney for coming on and not only sharing his story with you all, but also sharing a lot of great advice that you all can use in your own creative journeys. So I want to go ahead and thank you all for spending time with me here on this podcast episode. And I wish you all the best and luck in the world in getting started in your own creative ventures. So I hope that you do come back and spend more time with me here on the podcast. And if you found this session helpful, I encourage you to not only take action on your own ideas, but share this information with a friend on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook or whatever social media you use. And as always, stay inspired, and I look forward to serving you in future sessions. Be sure to get on the email list for some free awesome content and stay updated on new interviews. And remember, build your dreams, or somebody else will hire you to build theirs.
Thanks for listening to the Creative Entrepreneurs Podcast. Join us next time for more great insights. And don't forget to subscribe to the email list to get the latest information and updates.